Well, you've seen the future of storytelling. Thank you, Sanju. Now I'd like to take you into the past. Into my past, as well as the past of storytelling. When I was a student at the University of Pittsburgh School of Library Science, my professor, Margaret Hodges, gave us an assignment. She challenged us to tell a literary story. And this is the story I chose to do for that assignment. And I always think of her when I tell the story, because if it wasn't for her, I probably never would have taken it on. But years later, after I graduated, I went to see Margaret. She was living in a retirement home then with her husband, Fletcher. They were both in their 90s. And Fletcher said to me, Connie Rockman. Now, what I remember about you was that when you were in Peggy's class, you learned the Pied Piper of Hamelin. I'll bet you if you give me any line in that story, I can give you the next line. And he did. 96 years old and nearly blind, he traded me line for line. That's the power of storytelling. And this story always resurfaces for me in times of political stuff. And this, for me, has been a year of political stuff. I won't tell you what side I'm on, but... So it's not the parts of the story that most people remember. It's that mayor and that council that really get my blood boiling. Now, Hamelin Town's in Brunswick, near famous Hanover City. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its walls on the southern side. And a pleasanter spot, oh, you've never spied. But when begins my story? Over 500 years ago. To see those townsfolk suffer so from vermin was a pity. Rats. They fought the dogs and killed the cats and bit the babies in the cradles. They ate the cheeses out of the vats and licked the soup from the cook's own ladles. They split open kegs of salted sprats, made nests inside men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning their speaking with shrieking and squeaking in 50 different sharps and flats. At last, the people, in a body, to the town hall came flocking. "'Tis clear," cried they, "our mayor's a noddy. And as for our corporation, shocking, to think we buy gowns lined with ermine for these dolts who can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking, to find the remedy we're lacking, or sure as fate will send you packing." We should say that to Congress. Well, for an hour, the council sat, discussing this issue. And at length the mayor broke the silence. "Oh, I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy for them to tell us to rack our brains. I'm sure my poor head aches again. I've scratched it so, and all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap." And just as he said this, what should happen at the chamber door but a gentle tap? "Oh, bless us," cried the mayor, "what's that? Is it only the scraping of shoes on the mat? Anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart go pitter-pat." "Come in," cried the mayor, looking bigger. And in did come the strangest figure. This queer, long coat from heel to head was half of yellow and half of red. And he himself was tall and thin, with light, loose hair, yet swarthy skin. No tuft on cheek, nor beard on chin, but lips where smiles went out and in. There was no guessing his kith and kin, and nobody could enough admire this tall man and his quaint attire. He advanced to the council table, and please, your honors," quoth he. "I am able, by means of a secret charm, to draw all living creatures under the sun that creep or fly or swim or run after me, so as you never saw. And I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do people harm. The mole, the toad, the newt, the viper. And people call me the Pied Piper." And here they noticed around his neck a scarf with red and yellow stripe to match his coat of the self-same check. And at the scarf's end hung a pipe, and his fingers, they noticed, were ever straying as if impatient to be playing upon that pipe, as low it dangled over his vesture, so old-fangled. "Yes," said he, "poor piper that I am, in Tartary I freed the Cham last June of his huge swarms of gnats. In Asia, I eased the Nizam of a monstrous brood of vampire bats, and as for what your brain bewilders, if I can rid your town of rats, will you give me 1,000 guilders? "One? We give you 50,000, said the astonished mayor of the corporation. So into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. And then, like a musical adept, to blow the pipe, his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you suddenly heard as if an army muttered, and the muttering grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses the rats came tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brave rats, brown rats, black rats, tawny rats, brave old plotters, gay young friskers, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step for step they followed, dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein every one of them plunged and perished, all save one, who, stout as Julius Caesar, swam across and lived to carry to Ratland home his commentary, which was, at the first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard a sound as of scraping, tripe, and putting apples wondrous ripe into a cider press's grape, and just as I thought it said, come bore me, I found the river rolling o'er me. Well, you should have heard the Hamelin people, ringing the bells till they rocked the steeple. Go, cried the mayor, get long poles, poke out the nests, block up the holes, consult with carpenters and builders, and leave in our town not even a trace of the rats. When suddenly, up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace with a, first, if you please, my 1,000 guilders. 1,000 guilders? The mayor turned blue. So did the corporation, too. To pay such a sum to a wandering fellow in a gypsy coat of red and yellow? Beside, quoth the mayor, with a knowing wink, our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our eyes those vermin sink, and what's dead can't come to life, I think. So, friend, we're not the folks to shrink of the duty of giving you something to drink and a matter of money to put in your coat, but as for guilders, what we spoke of then, that you must know, it's a joke. Besides, our losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders, come, take 50. The piper's face fell, and he cried, no trifling, I can't wait beside. I've promised to visit by dinner time Baghdad, and accept the crime of the head cook's cottage all he's rich in, for having left in the caliph's kitchen of a nest of scorpions no survivor. With him I proved no bargain driver. With you, Don't think I'll bait a stiver, and folks who put me in a passion may find me pipe after another fashion. Ha! Cried the mayor. Do you think I'll brook being worse treated than a cook? Insulted by a lazy, ribald with idle pipe and vesture piebald? You threaten me, fella? Do your worst. Blow your pipe there till you burst. Once more, he stepped into the street, and to his lips again he laid his pipe of smooth, straight cane. And ere he blew 3 notes, such sweet, soft notes as yet musician's cunning never gave the enraptured air, there was a rustling that seemed like a bustling of merry crowds justling and pitching and hustling, little feet clattering, little hands clapping, little teeth chattering, and like fowl in the farmyard when barley is scattering, out came the children running. All the little boys and girls with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping, ran merrily after that wonderful music with shouting and laughter. The mayor was struck dumb, and the council felt as if they were changed into blocks of wood. They could only stand there and watch with their eye that merry crowd passing them by. And oh, how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched council's bosoms beat when the piper turned from the high street to where the river rolled its waters right in the path of their sons and daughters. However, he turned from south to west, and to Coppleburg Hill his steps addressed. And then great was the joy in every breast. He can never cross that mighty top. He's forced to let the piping drop, and we will see our children stop. But my friends, when they reach the mountainside, wondrous doorway opened wide, as if a cavern were suddenly hollowed, and the piper advanced, and the children followed. And when all were in to the very last, that door in the mountainside shut fast. Oh, did I say all? No, there was one who was lame, walked with a crutch, and could not dance the whole of the way. And in later years, if you would blame his sadness, he was used to say, "It's dull in our town since my playmates left. And I can't forget that I'm bereft of all the pleasant sights they see, which the piper also promised me." For he was leading us, he said, to a joyous land, adjoining our town, and just at hand where waters gushed and fruit trees grew and flowers put forth a fairer hue, and everything was strange and new. Why, their sparrows were brighter than peacocks here, and their dogs outran our fallow deer, and honeybees had lost their sting, and horses were born with eagle's wings. And just as I became assured my lame foot would be speedily cured, the music stopped, and I stood still, left alone outside the hill, to go now limping as before, and never hear of that country more. Alas, alas for Hamelin. The mayor sent east, west, north, and south to offer the piper by word of mouth wherever it was men's lot to find him. Silver and gold to his heart's content. If only he'd come back the way he went and bring their children behind him. And when they saw it was a lost endeavor, and piper and children were gone forever, they wrote the story on a column, and on a great church window they painted the same, to make the world acquainted how their children were stolen away. There it stands to this very day. And I must not omit to say that in Transylvania, there's a tribe of alien people who ascribe the outlandish ways and dress on which their neighbors lay such stress to their fathers and mothers having arisen out of some subterraneous prison into which they were trepanned long time ago in a mighty band out of Hamelin town in Brunswick land. But how or why? They don't understand. So friends, let you and me be wipers of scores out with all men, especially pipers. And whether they pipe us free from rats or from mice, whatever we have promised them, let us keep our promise.